ABC, Jack here. Welcome to my channel, Vinyl Martini. Thought I would show my 2022 purchases so far. There's a lot here, so let's just get started and get on with it. First record, Joe Jackson, Body and Soul, 1984 release. Very jazzy record, big sound, nice songs on here. Nice cover, almost an homage to a Blue Note or a Verve cover. Some nice liner notes on there. I haven't heard this record in a long time, and I forgot how good it was. Maybe one of my best buys so far. Next up, Blue Oyster Cult, Mirrors, 1979 release. I think this is probably the last Blue Oyster Cult record I'm going to buy. I've got most of their 70s records. I think they started to splinter up a little bit and lose some of their potency. So nice copy, nice minty copy. Glad to have that. Next, some gifts from my buddy Reg. He's my crate digging buddy. He had some doubles that he gave me. First up is Bruce Hornsby and the Range, The Way It Is. This is a 1986 recording. It was a monster, sold tons and tons of records. Haven't heard it in a long time. And man, it's a pretty good record, not a bad song on it. Happy to have that. Also, he gave me a copy of a Jerry Rafferty album, Night Owl. I think this is his second solo record. I'm a big Jerry Rafferty fan. I already have this record, bit of an upgrade, so I'm going to keep this copy, and I'm going to pass mine on to some deserving soul. Also, a Tom Scott record, Intimate Strangers. I think this is it's a 1978 recording. It's kind of soft, mellow jazz, easy listening. I think this is the first record he did that he's decided that instead of doing all the session work he was doing, he was going to pursue a musical career aside from all that, because he's done soundtracks and jingles and backed so many people. So nice Sunday morning record, pretty good. He's got so many LA sessions on here. Eric Gale on guitar, Hugh McCracken, Ralph McDonald on drums, Steve Gadd on drums, Steve Porcaro, David Paich on keyboards. So the finest of the LA session people. Another gift I got from friends, Susie and Rod. It's a Jerry Jeff Walker album, live. It's called A Man Must Carry On, 2-disc set. Happy to have this. I'm a big Jerry Jeff fan as well. He does a lot of kind of messing around on this record, but one side is really great. He does Mr. Bojangles, LA Freeway, One Too Many Mornings, Up Against the Wall, Redneck, Will the Circle Be Unbroken. Sadly, he's no longer with us. Gatefold. Nice. I've been looking for this record for a while. They used to be, this is a Steelers Wheel record, and they used to be a dime a dozen. And this one is not on United Artists. I think Steelers Wheel was on United Artists. This is on Pickwick Records, so it's a repress. So we all know Pickwick Records. They're not the greatest pressings, but this will have to do until I find an original copy. Next up, Hall & Oates. I've been buying Hall & Oates records, I don't know, for the last 3 or 4 years. And they're one of my guilty pleasures, I guess. This was recorded in 1977. No hits on here, but a lot of good songs. Happy to have it. Cheap, this is a $5 record. And it's got a nice shiny cover, which is unusual for a 77 release. In a similar vein, I've got Daryl Hall's first solo record called Sacred Songs. This was produced by Robert Fripp. Interesting story is this was recorded in 77, the same time this Beauty in the Backstreet was recorded, but the label refused to release it. They didn't hear any hit songs on it. It was finally released in 79, and Fripp's got his fingerprints all over this record. It's pretty good. These guys met in 75 or 76. They became friends and decided to work together. There's a song on here called Urban Landscape, which is pretty much just it's a Robert Fripp instrumental, really nice. Another song called NYCNY, another kind of Frippy song. No hits on this record, just like the record company predicted, but happy to have it. Next up, Traffic, live album, Welcome to the Canteen. I think this was a 1971 release. It's got Medicated Goo on it, 40,000 Headmen, Shouldn't Have Took More Than You Gave, Dear Man, Mr. Fantasy, great lineup. Steve Winwood, Jim Capaldi, Dave Mason, Chris Wood, Rick Gretsch, Rebop Kwakaba, and Jim Gordon on here. Next, it's an album that or a band that I've heard about from Rob Walker, I think. Rob Walker, it's a Manchester band called James. This is their first record, released in 1986. I'm not too sure. I don't think this is maybe the best album to start off with. They're a three-piece with a vocalist. I'm not really familiar with them, but the first side is a little bit fast, I guess. Side 2 is a little bit better. They slow down a little bit. I've only listened to it once. I'm going to keep on listening to it. Maybe I'm just missing something, but I'm going to maybe listen to some of their other records on Spotify, and I haven't given up on them. Next up, a band called Blackfoot. Two of these guys recorded or worked with Leonard Skinner back in the day before Leonard Skinner had a recording contract. Southern rock. They're basically a B band, B-list band. Rock, Southern rock. I've only listened to it once. I'm going to give it another shot. Anyways, I bought these. There was a couple of bins in a record store, 3 for $10. So 3 for $10. I had to go digging through the crates to find some stuff that looked half decent. It's the Boomtown Rats record, 1981 release. I don't have any Boomtown Rats records. I haven't listened to this yet, but looks interesting. Donovan, just called Donovan, 1976 release. The 70s output is a little uneven. Usually there's about 3 or 4 good songs on them. I haven't listened to this yet, but I'm building up my Donovan collection and happy to have this. And the third record I bought was George Benson, Weekend in LA. It's a double live set. Nice gatefold. I don't think George Benson gets his props. He's a jazz guy that played on a lot of records before he became really popular. This is really mellow, very poppy. Yeah, I don't think he just gets the recognition or any love. Anyways, George Benson. Pretty good record, actually. Next up, another Joe Cocker record, I Can Stand a Little Rain. Joe Cocker records are cheap. They've always got great songs on here. The big hit on this one was You Are So Beautiful, but I Can Stand a Little Rain is a good song. There's a Alan Toussaint song on here called Performance. Nice record, happy to have it. These next two I was really excited to find. Just let me take the covers off. Roger Chapman. His first solo record, Chapo, a live album that was released shortly after that. It's Roger Chapman and the Shortlist. Roger Chapman, for those of you who don't know, was the lead singer in Family, and then after Family folded, he went on to work with Streetwalkers. He's the lead singer for Streetwalkers. Haven't listened to these yet, but I'm looking forward to it. These are imports. I don't think Chapman released, or any of his albums were released domestically, so they're a little bit hard to find. I'm always happy. I only have one other. Always happy to find them. So, Roger Chapman. Roy Harper, 1980 record. I pick up Roy Harper records whenever I can. They're hard to find. David Gilmour is on this record. He was good buddies with Pink Floyd. He recorded the song Have a Cigar on Wish You Were Here. He's very inventive, folky, psyche, rock. Hard to describe, but a great artist. Next up, BobbyWhitlock. He was in Derek and the Dominoes, played with Delaney and Bonnie. This is a really real country record. Folky, country. Nice cover, good condition. Bobby's got a channel on YouTube. He's got a lot of reminiscing to do with the recording of Layla. He worked on All Things Must Pass. Really interesting guy. Nice channel. You should check him out. Next up, I'm a big Staple Singers fan, and I picked this up. It's called Staples. A little bit of a change of direction. You look at the cover, it's very 70s. I think this was released in 76. Yeah, 1976. So when I picked it up and looked at the lineup, I was really interested because it's produced by Curtis Mayfield. It's got Phil Upchurch on guitar here, Gary Thompson on guitar, but a little bit of a disappointment. I think they were looking for looking to modernize a little bit, modernize their sound. It's a little bit disco-y, so a little bit not as gospel-y and as rootsy as their records on Stax Volt are, but anyways, not too bad, not too great, kind of middle of the road. Next up, a record on Pablo Records. I buy stuff on Pablo whenever I can. This is Frank Foster and Frank West. They used to be in the Count Basie band. This is, I think, their only featured album on Pablo. Haven't played it yet, but looking forward to it. Next up, Brian Ferry 12-inch. I never buy 12 inches, but I picked this up because I'm a big Brian Ferry fan, and it is the right stuff. Right Stuff dub mix and an original mix. So it was only $4.99. It is an import. Nice cover. Happy to have it. Doug Somm. I'm a huge Doug Somm fan. This was recorded in 1986, I think, 1987. It's on Stony Plain Records, which is an Edmonton, Alberta label. Doug is from San Antonio. He's a crazy man. He's you cannot pigeonhole this guy. He's rock, he's folk, he's Tex-Mex. He's with Amos Garrett and Gene Taylor on this record. And he lived in Alberta for a couple of years, I think. So very happy to have this. Add that to my collection. Next up, the best of Herbie Hancock. I've got lots of Herbie records. This was in great condition, not very expensive. So if I don't keep this one, I will pass it on to somebody and pass the Herbie experience on to them. Next, Robin Trower. Big Robin Trower fan. He used to be the guitar player for Procol Harum. He's had I think he recorded 4 records with them, and then went on to a solo career. The big knock that everybody in the VC says about this guy is that he's just, a Jimi Hendrix knockoff. Well, he's certainly Jimi Hendrix elements in his playing, but the way I look at it is there were guitar players before Jimmy, and then there was guitar players after Jimmy, and if you came after Jimmy, you couldn't help but get influenced. This is a 3-piece, Robin Trower on guitar, Bill Lorden on drums, and Rusty Allen on bass with James Dewar on vocals. Haven't listened to it yet, but I love Robin Trower stuff. Great guitar player. And last, I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I never had a copy of this, and who doesn't have a copy of this? Sgt Peppers. This is a repress, a re-release, probably, I'm going to say, from the late 70s on, I don't usually show labels, but it's on this Capitol label, just this purple Capitol label. And I bought it in the as-is bin, and it had this, I'm not going to show it, but there's some funny little bubbles on the last song on the last song in the Day in the Life, but it plays just fine. I haven't heard this in its entirety in such a long time. I played it, and it's maybe it's not the best press in the world, but it's going to do me. And really happy to have it at a decent price and decent condition. So that is it for now. If you're still with me and you haven't subscribed, why don't you think of subscribing? Give me a like, add a comment. I'd really appreciate it. I am going to do another show. These are the new presses or new releases that I bought. They're not new releases. They're all used records, but I have a bunch of records that I bought from the dollar bins that I'm going to do in my next show. So thanks for watching, and until the next show, see you later.